You don't know the power of the dark side.
Welcome to Star Wars Chatter, hosted by Andrew Van Zark. Now you're listening with Power. The information on this podcast is my opinion and some internet research. Hello, welcome to the Star Wars Chatter. I'm Andrew Van Zark, and this is your safe space who discusses Star Wars and music. So let's get it started. But before, a word from our sponsor. The sponsor of my stream and podcast is DistroKid. If you want 7% off on your first subscription with DistroKid, release your music to the world on every major music platform. Make sure to go to my website, andrewvanzark.com, and click on the discount link under the tab of DistroKid.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker. But you are not a Jedi yet.
Then stop at Star Wars Chatter. If you're a Star Wars fan, or like video games, comics, cartoons, manga, anime, and electronic music, Japanese rock, Japanese pop, at www.andrewvanzark.com and click on the radio tab to listen to the live feed or the podcast where I have my pre-recorded condensed episodes. Or if you're around Guaynabo, tune in to 91.7 FM to listen live on your car or any radio receiver. And also, check out my music on every major music platform and tune in at twitch.tv/Andrew Van Zark to see me play video games and do my live concerts on the weekend. Trust in the Force, no light speeding, and buckle up. Now, you're listening with Power. Power to the music, and may the Force be with you. This is a spoiler warning.
Well, I didn't see that coming.
If you don't like spoilers, make sure to tune out.
Please hang up and try again.
But if you know what we're talking about, make sure to leave me a message on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or tune in to my next live show at twitch.tv/Andrew Van Zark and leave me a message there on the chat. So let's get started and listen at your own risk. Now, to start off, let's mention a short overview of Tales of the Jedi's miniseries. This series was created by Dave Filoni, the producer of things Star Wars, including Rebels, Clone Wars, The Bad Batch, The Mandalorian, and the Book of Boba Fett. Tales of the Jedi is about the Jedis from the prequel era. The 6 episodes are split into 2 paths. The first follow Ahsoka Tano across various points in her life, and the other depicting a young Count Dooku before his fall to the dark side of the Force. Now, to start off, before we get into that breakdown, the animation was really good. It was just flawless movement, and at times it didn't look cartoonish, as I like to say. And as we might know, it was the same art style of Rebels, Clone Wars, and Bad Batch. Moving on now to my favorite part, the audio/music of Tales of the Jedi, which was superb. As I watched it with headphones, the use of great addition of panning makes it feel much more real, and the sound moved exactly with each movement of the animation. And that surround feel, it's something I do appreciate. Then, the music, as always, Star Wars never fails with the score of their shows, and the emotions were just right there. And the instruments used on each score was the perfect one. The music, in my opinion, is one, if not of the best things and important things after being the sound design of a visual media production, and it helps carry the whole production and submerge the viewers into the whole story. And speaking about the story, let's get into that story breakdown of each episode. So episode 1 features baby Ahsoka, and I gotta say this, but move over Grogu, aka Baby Yoda. It's time for baby Ahsoka to shine. And she was adorable. So the names of Ahsoka's parents, to get into a bit more details here, are Nuk Il, which is the father, and the mother, Pav T. So Ahsoka was already a Force sensitive as a baby as we move on through the episode. And the Torgari village elders released that Ahsoka is Force sensitive and is destined to be the Jedi as she's able to calm down and connect to the tiger creature. One common Force-sensitive ability in Star Wars lore is being able to connect to all living things. In this way, many Jedis can pacify even the most ferocious beast. And seeing that episode and being able to understand the Force sensitivity of Ahsoka that early on her life was super interesting. And I liked how this episode felt a little bit more tribe-ish with the religion and having to do that hunting. Seeing how Ahsoka was being the center of attention within that episode. Now, moving on to episode 2, we have a young Count Dooku and his Padawan, and even younger Qui-Gon Jinn, which I wasn't expecting to see that young of Qui-Gon Jinn. So yeah, that's a young Count Dooku, and Jedi Master before he eventually became the Sith Lord Darth Tyrannus, and an even younger Qui-Gon Jinn as his Padawan apprentice. Count Dooku uses Force Choke, foreshadowing his fall to the dark side. So Count Dooku uses Force Choke on Senator Dagonet, which means that even years ago, he was already leaning towards the dark side. Force Choke is an ability often categorized as a Sith ability. And in this episode, it was so much tension, and it's interesting how even though we're seeing the fall and foreshadowing of Count Dooku becoming Darth Tyrannus, it still shows that the Senate actually had some dark side to it, you know? As much as they rule the galaxy and the Republic, they do have their dark side. Then, episode 3, titled Funeral of a Jedi, it's interesting to see a proper funeral of a Jedi Master taking place at the Jedi Temple of Coruscant. So, Mace Windu in that episode became a Jedi Council member to replace the late Master Katri. So Mace Windu became a member of the Jedi Council due to the death of Jedi Master Katri. So Count Dooku's road to the dark side mirrors that of Anakin Skywalker. And we can see that clearly. And it's interesting how Count Dooku is moving towards the dark side, similar to Anakin's journey in the prequels. Both of them starting to lose faith in both the Republic, which is becoming more corrupt, and a Jedi Council that cares more for politics than truly protecting the galaxy. Then, later on the series, we go to episode 4, which is Star Wars Attack of the Clones Easter egg, which by far, that was one of my favorites. And then the reason why Obi-Wan Kenobi couldn't find Planet Kamino in 2022's Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones has been revealed. We already know that it was deleted in the Jedi archives, but it turns out that Count Dooku was the one who did it. That's not a surprise, considering it was Count Dooku who caused the death of Master Sifo Dyas in the first place. Count Dooku killed Master Sifo Dyas because he and Darth Sidious, aka Palpatine, took over clone army started by Master Sifo Dyas on Kamino, which is what made Order 66 in Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith possible. Then, the first half of these episodes takes place during Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So Master Yocasta Nu mentions that Qui-Gon Jinn claims that he encountered a Sith. That Sith is probably Darth Maul, which means that this episode is taking place during the events of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And then, as a surprise for many people that are watching the series, we find a new character here called Yaddle. Yaddle makes an appearance, and this is the first time in Star Wars canon that we see Yaddle actually speaking and walking. She made her first appearance in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, as a member of the Jedi Council. If you don't remember, this was Yaddle in the movie, and she was the one with the brown hair sitting on the council. That's why we never see her featured in movies and other stuff, because she voluntarily left the Jedi Council before getting killed by Count Dooku. That's probably why no one found her being MIA, suspicious. So, Ian McDiarmid and Liam Neeson reprised their roles. Brian Dallas Howard voices Yaddle. So remember when I say Yaddle never spoke in the movies. It's great to see Brian Dallas Howard voicing Yaddle. She directed the 2 episodes of The Mandalorian and 1 episode of The Book of Boba Fett. Also, Ian McDiarmid and Liam Neeson returning is a treat to Star Wars fans. Now, to continue the story in the breakdown, Episode 5, a young Kanan Jarrus makes an appearance. So yes, during Ahsoka Tano's training, that was young Padawan Kanan Jarrus, who was spectating alongside his master Deepa Billabda. Kanan would eventually grow up to survive Order 66 and later become a rebel, training Ezra Bridger in Star Wars Rebels animated series, set during the era of the Empire. So this whole episode is basically how she started using the Yarkai stance and all her styles of fighting. So she started with 1 lightsaber, but goes to use her iconic stance of 2 lightsabers. It's called a Yarkai stance, a method of utilizing 2 lightsabers in combat. Yarkai could be employed with 2 standard length lightsabers, a primary weapon, in addition to a shorter blade, which is what is employed by Ahsoka Tano during this time. And then moving on to the last episode of the whole series. Ahsoka Tano was there at Padme's funeral. So Star Wars fans have long questioned what would Ahsoka Tano's reaction to Padme's death be. Now we've finally gotten that reaction, and it's heartbreaking to say the least. So Ahsoka Tano became a farmer in between the end of Episode 3 and Rebels. So that's what Ahsoka was doing all these years between the end of Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and Star Wars Rebels. Being a farmer, hiding her identity so that they don't catch her as a Jedi, but eventually she comes out and shows that she is a true Jedi and has all the abilities. Then Ahsoka Tano defeats an Inquisitor without using a lightsaber. So Ahsoka Tano defeating that Inquisitor without using her own lightsaber. After that, she calls Bail Organa and is ready to join the Rebels, which is what leads to the events of Star Wars Rebels. And to finish off here my episode of my podcast here, giving my thoughts on Tales of the Jedi, we can say that this is a flawless series, and it begs the question if they're gonna make more episodes out of this, like maybe a season 2, or just make different sort of similar styled series, mini-series better said, portraying other characters, expanding more the story of Ahsoka Tano, of Mace Windu joining the council, with Darth Tyrannus becoming the Sith Lord that he was for a while, then joining the Separatist or doing the Separatist organization, and so on and so forth. You know, it brings a glimpse, a grain of salt to open up to so many stories that Tales of the Jedi could do. They could probably do later on a Tales of the Sith. Then they could do one talking about the smugglers, or talking about, previous old Republic Sith Lords and whatnot. They can expand this to so many different levels. They don't have to continue this exact same mini-series, but they can at least use the same style and portray that with other characters on other series, so we can get more information on other characters that we truly love. And that this one actually felt like if George Lucas was involved with it. Dave Filoni has been doing a great job so far, and I would love for this to continue being the format that it is, But anyways, thank you for listening to my episode here, and I hope you have enjoyed it. And if you haven't watched Tales of the Jedi, make sure to go watch it. You're not gonna be disappointed whatsoever. So, I'll catch you on the flip side. Adios, amigos! And now that you're listening to Gentleman Sark, you're now listening with power. Power to the music. Let's go. Roll that outro. This was the Star Wars Chatter, hosted by Andrew Mazar. If you have any thoughts or any messages that you want to leave me, go check me out on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. or my website www.andrewvansart.com, and I'll catch you on the flip side. When you listen to Andrew Van Zark, you listen with power. Now you're listening with power. Andrew Van Zark. Stream on every major music platform. Power to the music.